Rolex. This one here is a Rolex Explorer 114270 from 2001 in a size 36 millimeters. I briefly had the 39 millimeter version, reference to 14270, but this is more my style. Classic sport Rolex. From all these 10 products, choosing this was the hardest. The search took almost 3 years. I have now had this watch for 7 years. This thing marks a chapter in my life I like to call becoming a man. Oh no, that was the trip to the hardware store. This chapter was called becoming a dad. Yes, I bought this watch when I had my first child. I got this moments before he was born. So when he looks at the photos where I hold him for the first time in the hospital, he'll see this watch. This watch will be his when he turns 30. If he wants it, of course. But not 18. 30. Anyways, that is the plan at least. The other plan was to look at this thing as a wearable savings account. If shit hits the fan, I can always sell this thing. But I really hope it does not come to that. In my eyes, this watch is expensive. I originally paid half of what this watch is valued now. So if you have stuffed your savings to a digital mattress, aka the bank, I highly recommend you study the watch markets as an option. I personally have doubled the investment in just a few years, while wearing this watch 24/7. Yes, I even sleep with this thing on. Before this I had a Timex, and I also wore that 24/7. Just so you know that sleeping with this thing on has nothing to do with the Rolex brand. I'm just weird in general, if you haven't noticed yet. I really like this watch. This pretty much flies under the radar. I also have few straps that I like to swap out whenever I'm in the mood. For those, I also bought the original Rolex buckle to match. My tobacco-colored suede strap is great for that under-the-radar rugged vibe. Like when I go to the cabin and get to chop some wood. Yes, I don't baby this watch at all. It is a tool. And whenever I feel like going all black, everything, I have a shiny padded black leather strap. But 90% of the time I roll with the oyster bracelet. It is that good. These vintage models have a much thinner clasp. So even working with a laptop isn't an issue. Or to be precise, this thing is neo-vintage. I would love to go for an even older Explorer version, but I wanted a watch that I did not have to protect and always remember that I had a Rolex on my wrist. I swim, chop wood, and even, if I have to, I go to sauna with this thing on. Yes, it is all fine, and if something would happen, you can always get it serviced. The only time I took this thing off was when I renovated our apartment. Anyways, this Explorer model is made originally for mountain climbing. For climbing to Mount Everest type of mountain climbing. This thing is rugged AF. But nowadays, this seemed to be more popular with other free-spirited folks. Like Brad Pitt, Ian Fleming, and Don Draper. Yes, the main character from Mad Men. This watch is actually the original James Bond watch as well. When Ian Fleming wrote the first James Bond, he wrote that Mr. Bond was wearing a Rolex Explorer, just like he was. But when the suits got involved, it was switched to Rolex Submariner. And as a proof that this is also great as a mechanical watch, this watch is the EDC watch of Roger W. Smith, the famous watchmaker. So there, I love this thing. But enough about the watch. I could go on and on about this, but let's save that for another video. Moving on. To give a little context, I'm a professional designer/photographer.